Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Minions of the Zoo, 1572. We're close enough to on time. I'm your host, Johnny Hellcat, and with me today are Minions Sanguine.
Good evening, all.
And Terry Diamantis.
Hey, everyone.
So how you guys doing today?
Doing well.
I'm doing fairly well as well. I'm just doing some work to start making my dinner, and I found out that I am once again down some weight, which is nice. I'm now a sprightly 243-ish pounds, so...
I will assume that that's a good thing.
Yes, it is down over 80 pounds from my heaviest.
Nice.
Now, are you, are you going to your body mass weight, or are you going to just something manageable? Trying to, I should say.
Trying to go to a weight that feels comfortable for me and also makes me look a bit better. So I didn't look morbidly obese or anything like that. I just looked big. When most people would guess my weight, they would guess that I was in the 250s despite being 325 at the time.
I think because you've got the height, it sort of offset it and made people's guesses a bit lower.
It's the height and the giant dwarven nature of my body. Most people, when they think of it, they're thinking someone with an average-sized torso. An average-sized torso with a certain amount of weight just blobs out.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have a torso of a 7'8" person, suddenly you can get a lot larger without looking a lot larger.
Well, I've actually heard that being accused of sexism in like human bodies, where like women will store more fat in their bellies or whatever, and so they look fatter than men who weigh like the same thing, because like men distribute the weight differently.
Yep, men distribute the weight differently, and also it's when you have a man and a woman at the same weight, the woman will always look heavier than the man. The man will always look thinner. So, or pretty much always. Depends if you have a ridiculous Amazon versus Peter Dinklage, and you set them to the same weight, then the woman will look thinner than the man. But assuming average height and muscular build, the man will always look much, much thinner than the woman. And it's because bone density and muscle mass play a huge part in that. And then it's also how the weight is distributed. The one exception to that rule is if the woman has just absolutely enormous tits, then she can be much heavier than it seems like she is.
I moved to. I think we need a petition. All women should store their weight in their tits.
Yes. Well, not all of the weight, because I also like thighs and ass, so it just needs to be relegated to those 3 locations, though.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah, and see, this is how you know that it isn't sexism, because why would men decide that women have to store it in their stomach? We don't want it stored in the stomach.
No. It's for whatever reason the upper half of the female body has always appealed to me more on a visual level. So I'm fine if it's all in the tits. I don't really need the rest of it.
See, for me, I've always been someone that cares entirely about proportions.
I agree.
I can deal with someone who's rather modestly dealt in each of those areas. If they're modestly dealt in all the areas, no problem. Does not have any. Or I can still find them really goddamn attractive. I can find someone who has huge tracts of land,
Well,
attractive, and
there comes a point where it looks comical. I don't want the tits to be like ridiculous because I don't know if you know Poe, but I know Johnny does. He will post women where like their tits are like half their body weight, and it's like, okay, no, that looks stupid.
yep.
Like they do have to be in proportion. They just need to be sort of on the larger side rather than, you know, like she's got two bald men hidden under her shirt.
Have you guys seen the movie Head of State?
No.
I'm trying to remember if I have. Let me quickly see who's in it.
It's a Chris Rock. Let's see, Chris Rock's Bernie Mac's in it. Nick Cersei is in it. Let's see, and he Chris Rock ends up running for president because they kind of set him up to to where he's not going to win. And so he's trying to lure Nick Cersei's character into a debate. And the joke is one of the jokes he tells when he's outside of the headquarters is your mom was ass so fat she's taller when she sits down or something like that. And he's like, you can't have him talk to your mom like that. He's like, of course I can. And like she walks up and slaps him and her ass is all like out.
Nice.
So anytime I hear that, I immediately think of that. So
I think I've seen that movie in passing. I haven't ever sat down to watch it all the way through, but I think I've seen segments of it.
It's actually a pretty good movie.
I've seen Chris Rock, and I know what Bernie Mac looks like as well. That's my entire experience with it. I know what the two actors look like. It's,
But yeah, for me, like I said, it's all about proportions. Because if you have too big of an ass and no balancing out, that looks strange. If you have too big of tits and no balancing out, that looks strange. You need the proper balance between top and bottom.
I mean, who's this idiot?
That's
I know who this idiot is not.
It's clearly it's clearly
well,
not
it's
Jack
quite
Gunsky.
clearly not Jack Gunsky, but who is it? Is it? You know, like you sound a lot like that guy I Like Boobs who I stream with every Friday.
Well, maybe I like boobs, Terry.
Who still plays the game even though he's not supposed to.
But is I Like Boobs banned?
Yes.
Okay, just checking.
I think Frosted did add. I think it's now Jack Gunsky, I Like Boobs, and Johnny Hellcat are all disallowed from the caption contest.
Gotcha.
And I'm only disallowed because I took your spot one night.
Yeah, you're an honorary Jack Gunsky, and that's stinky.
That's like the worst. That's like the worst prize ever. Honorary Jack Gunsky.
Congratulations, you're Jack Gunsky. Oh,
how insulted were you when you first heard that?
It's like, hey, for your prize, I'm gonna shit in your mouth.
Hey, there's some people who are into that. I don't know why, but
congratulations! As your prize, here's a AIDS-infected needle. Have fun.
welcome to California.
Well, the thing is, some people are into the whole AIDS thing too, because that was like one of the very few.
Don't bring
Oh,
up
good
the
Lord. We all knew where that was going.
I don't know how many of you saw that Medicare video, but Jesus Christ,
I have.
disgusting video.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts so much, Terry.
I know exactly where I was when I was watching that video.
In front of your computer.
No.
I miss when Medicare did shit. He doesn't have cancer anymore. He has no excuse.
So wait, is your answer really? He doesn't have cancer anymore. He better get some more. Is that really your argument?
I mean,
I'm sorry. Is there a better argument?
That's the walk it off, Jack. Like,
yeah. If Moonchuck's fine, I'm sure Medicare is too.
That's not even a walk it off. That's a, oh, your leg's feeling better? You're getting back up? Let me just kick you in the knee. Okay. Leg's still okay. Give it another kick. Here, have some.
Well, it's not just that. It's before the cancer, his shit was just, he was just getting involved with blood spores shit, and that's just the worst. Blood spores was the worst.
I've only seen of Medica. I've only seen that guy with the glasses where he was just like ripping them to shreds, going like all the fucked up shit they've done, and Spoonie and Linkara and like all the fuckery that those people got into. And then after that, which was quite interesting, there was that video that I previously mentioned. It's like, I'm not watching this channel anymore. I'm done.
Oh, he does. You
mean you didn't watch his furry content?
Yeah, there was
Tumblrisms.
Deviants.
Yes.
Yeah, Tumblrisms and Deviants. And Deviants did the worst of deviant art.
Oh God!
And as someone, I basically got my start on the internet on DeviantArt, so I appreciated that series because I've seen some of the cancer and it's real.
Okay, now it's time to come clean. You got your start on the internet by drawing Mpreg Sonic art, didn't you?
Yes, Sanguine. That is how I got my start on the internet. Actually, when I was on Mr. Moo's channel as a joke, we actually discussed this, and it ended with me reading Sonic Mpreg literature on DeviantArt.
Don't make it sound like that was just, well, it accidentally led here. You came in with your file full. It's not even posted online anywhere. You just pulled it up out of your saved documents.
I'm telling you, this was the most cancerous shit you've ever read in your life.
That was the equivalent of, no, I tripped and fell and my penis landed inside her when you get caught cheating in someone.
I don't know. I think that might be worse. I think that might be the defense from Virginia of, well, you see, my watch got stuck on my skirt. How the fuck does that mean that you had to rape the girl?
No, but it was the grammar was just off. This was not an native English speaker. The one that I read. But it was funny.
Like I said, he's just trying to mask the fact that he didn't even pull it up off the internet. It was just in his hard drive. He had it saved from when he wrote it back in his high school days.
I have actually written erotica in the past.
I was going to say, what do you mean high school days? You wrote it last week.
No, because it was the poor English one. That one was from high school.
Okay.
Yes, back after I moved here from Taiwan.
He's
so you're saying
slowly gone up in quality. I mean, his writing of My Immortal. I mean, I'm sorry, Jack. Sorry, Johnny. I don't mean to spoil anyone's backstory, but it's time to let people know that you ghost wrote My Immortal.
No, Jack wasn't right.
There's no response for it, is there, Johnny?
No, that's pretty much it.
It's like, yeah, how am I supposed to respond to an accusation like that?
with pride. You say, hell yes, Jack Gunsky is the author of that, My Immortal.
I don't even know what that is.
And the proper response is not even what Terry just said. The proper response is the, gee, thanks flamming me in front of all the haters.
I don't know. Have you ever read Sonic Mpreg Sanguine? Because even that makes it difficult for the tongue-in-cheek response. It is difficult to respond to an accusation once you've actually read it.
But yes, the proper response to being accused of writing My Immortal is to accuse everyone of being preps and haters and of flamming you or various other misspellings of flaming.
But anyway, Medicare's done a lot of great videos. He did the Deviant series. He did the Tumblrism series. My favorite of his was his video series on what are those people called? I'm traveling. The sovereign citizens.
Sovereign citizens. Yeah.
Yeah, he did a video series on sovereign citizens, and it is fucking hilarious. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't be cursing on this channel.
Have you listened to a word that's come out of my goddamn mouth this entire fucking time?
Fair enough.
Just don't non-minions Terry it up, and you'll be fine.
Yeah. I was going to say, there's certain word that I do try to avoid when I'm on minions, just because...
Yeah, when you're on Quippers, that's one thing.
Well, yeah, I mean, if I get minions taken down, then none of the minions can use the channel. If I get Quippers taken down, everyone celebrates. So there's like a totally different situation.
Even I'll be celebrating. When my channel gets taken down, I'll be like, pop the champagne, motherfucker.
Yeah, there's certain words that you really have to be careful with, and you really have to make sure that you use them niggardly when you're trying to figure out where they can be tossed in. You don't want to just use them willy-nilly.
Yeah. But every time this comes up, I mention my favorite college humor video, which is where I think it's 31. There's 30-something words that sound like slurs but aren't. And like they've got this whole song singing about words like niggardly or a chink in your armor, various things like that. Kraut, but referring to sauerkraut.
I still remember when it was a massive thing. Someone lost their political career because they used the word niggardly in the correct usage.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing wrong with what they were doing. They were asked a question about, I think it was a Democrat, was asked a question about the issues with the local economy. And he said, well, a good part of the problem is that the Republicans that are currently in control, they're being rather niggardly with the purse strings.
Yeah.
So
what about... Oh, sorry.
No, that's a perfectly legitimate sentence. There is nothing that anyone should find offensive about that.
Yep.
It's a perfectly cromulent sentence.
That embiggens the heart of every Springfielder.
No, what about Matt and Blonde use the Bernie quote, "I am not going to be niggardly."
Mm-hmm.
It's they even say I haven't heard that expression in a coon's age, and then everyone's like, whoa, you definitely can't say that, because actually it refers to a myth that raccoons are very long-lived. So the only thing stopping you from saying coon as much as you want is a history of racial intolerance, as long as you mean the animal.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the Minions thing says there are 2 people watching. I'm willing to bet there are more than 2 people watching. I think that YouTube's view counter just sucks.
Yeah, considering that there's more than 2 people in chat.
Well, no, I mean, they could have saw that I came here and then suddenly, oh god, it's Jack Gunsky, and all just fled. But I like to think I can retain the audience better than 2 people.
Well, no, but let's figure this out. Because I'm in chat, and I presume Jack is still in chat, and I presume Johnny is in as the minions. Are you watching Sanguine?
And I am in
As
chat.
I said, I'm currently looking at the chat, which is how I'm going, yeah, there's more than 2 people in chat.
There's 4 at least. Even if it's just the people on stream and no one else, there should be 4 in chat.
Do they count Johnny since he's minions of the zoo in
just
chat?
Just because he's a cat. Or is it normally because he's a black cat? Is that what you're saying? Is it because he's normally a black cat that he doesn't get counted?
No, it's because he's on as
fraction of a person, Jack.
He's on as the admin. He's on as the admin, and I don't know if they count admins when they're doing this shit.
Are you saying I'm niggardly?
Sure.
If we go participants, Minions of the Zoo is the only active participant in chat, according to YouTube. So it definitely counts the Minions channel as a viewer.
Yeah, that is strange.
Yeah.
YouTube is a liar.
Yeah, or it's just a piece of shit. I don't think it's a liar. I think it's just broken.
All right, let's do this scientifically. Let's ask the chat if they are viewers.
Yes. Just, are you here?
Are
Yes
you
or no?
a viewer?
Are you a viewer?
No.
Yes, I am. Well, there's only 2 votes so far, so... Oh, now it's gone to 0 votes.
Oh my
How the fuck did it go to 0 votes?
YouTube, there's only one explanation. YouTube is finding all the viewers of this stream and killing them off one by one.
It's now jumped back up to 4. So it went 2, down to 0, then up to 4.
Well, and then I put it in, and then it jumped up to 5, and then back down to 4.
So
is this what happens when you hire a female as a CEO? Even your service can't count anymore?
Yes, it is. She's on a period and they're like pissed off. It's like, fine, you don't get any viewers.
The math was done by a woman.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. We don't hire women.
Well, they made one CEO.
That just reminds me of ages ago when the one female mathematician, I put air quotes on mathematician, not female in that instance, just to let everyone know.
They're not a transgender person.
No, they were just definitely not a mathematician because they put their entire doctorate thesis online for everyone to see. And their doctorate thesis contained a shit ton of emojis, random drawings, almost no math, and what math there was, it was done by her husband.
Oh, God.
Who was an actual mathematician. And this was one of the people that was cited widely because she was a mathematician and she was breaking the silence on the racism and sexism rampant in math.
So a Marxist mathematician then.
Exactly.
Marxmatician.
She was a diversity hire so bad that everyone else who was at all associated with her tried to purge any record of their association.
Why does anyone take these people seriously? I mean, a part of me just thinks that the reason society hasn't just absolutely blown up with "I can't believe this is going on" all the time is because they just don't know. They just don't know that the corruption is just so utterly rampant in every facet of our society. And they just go along blindly trying to, please just let me work it and watch television in my living room. Please just leave me alone with my 21-inch screen.
I think
I'm not going to leave you alone. Sorry. What?
I think most people just don't care. Like, anything that doesn't affect them very directly, they don't care about. I think that's like most people.
See, I think that it's a slightly different issue. I think it's that academia has been just so slowly corrupted as a whole that a lot of people are just now noticing what the fuck's happened.
Yeah.
But you're only saying that because you're not black.
It's just now that they are finding out that we have people that are actively advocating for racial segregation.
Yeah.
And being supported.
Not racial segregation, good racial segregation. It's the right racial segregation.
And in some cases, they're advocating for outright slavery, just
the good slavery.
Slavery that I can't even say that it was inverted or anything like that, because it's not. It's one of the most common forms of slavery throughout human history.
Marriage?
No, just...
Is he wrong, though? Is he wrong, Sanguine?
Well, Johnny's the expert on the matter.
Yes. Because
as my wife is behind me, I'm going to say nothing.
The thing is that if you look at traditionally, the man was the master of the house when it came to its outward-facing face. The woman was the master of the house when it came to all the inward-facing aspects.
Mm-hmm.
She would be in charge of who they hired, what they did on their lands, shit like that. The guy would be in charge of, okay, we have this much shit, go sell it.
I would just like to point out, I've been thinking about something a lot lately. I think that
did it hurt?
I think that right now, the world is still going through the growing pains of having social media for the first time ever. And this kind of leads from what we were talking about earlier about people just discovering this shit for the first time, the shit that's going on around us. Because before that, the mainstream media was the gatekeeper of information. If you didn't hear it from them, you just didn't hear it. Nowadays, everyone is a journalist. Literally everyone has the potential to be a journalist just by nature of being adjacent to world events. And we don't know how to cope with that yet. It's sort of like our preconceptions are clashing with reality in a dramatic way, and we as a society have not learned to adjust to that yet. And so as a result, we're going through this growing pains. We don't know what to do with ourselves in terms of social media and instant communication and instant news. And I think that that's one of the big reasons why we see people sticking so hard to narratives that are debunked and disproven over and over again by the very nature of reality itself.
See, I think that the reason why we have so many people pushing things that if you were actually able to demonstrate this is what you're advocating for, this is when it's implemented, this is how it fails. The reason why it's so difficult to get people to realize that is because our society as a whole still functions rather well. Despite all the problems that we have, despite all the issues that we're coming across, it is still functioning well enough that most people don't realize where it's breaking down. And they aren't realizing why it's breaking down. what needs to happen is it needs to be enough that there is an obvious what the fuck. And that's one of the reasons why, as much as I hate that Biden won the election, because he's done absolute horse shit the entire time that he's been president, have you guys seen the recent polls when it comes to favorability of presidents and the amount that Democrats are up in Democrat bastions like New York?
Biden has 100% approval, and we will not be claiming otherwise while Susan is watching.
You know, it's funny because if Biden claimed that he wanted to unite the country, he's doing a great job of it.
He is.
Just perhaps not in the way that he wanted.
Yeah, the over 50% of people polled in a survey that was heavily over surveying Democrats. Still, over 50% of people polled were saying that they do not think that the Ukrainian issue that we're currently dealing with would have happened had Trump been elected.
Well, of course it wouldn't. This is the common sense.
Yep, it is common sense, but it is common sense that if you would have asked them 2 years ago,
that's true,
they would have absolutely and thoroughly denied that Biden would be more likely to descend the world into war than Trump. When you look at New York State has, for the longest time, had it where Democrats are up 20 percentage points in all of the polling, all of the voting, all that good shit, right? It's the reason why New York is dyed blue in the wool.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys know what's currently happening when it comes to the polls as to what party is looked at more favorably in New York?
100% Democrat. We got your back, Susan.
That lead has gone from 20% up for Democrats to 10, and in some cases, substantially less than 10% up for Democrats.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
It's something that, again, if you aren't surprised right now, but if you had heard that 2 years ago, that New York State would start to have the Democrat lead erode, most people would be going, what the fuck are you talking about? It's still something that most people seem to think that Texas is going to turn blue any moment now. When, if you look at these polls, it's more likely that New York will turn red before Texas turns blue.
I think the people who are saying Texas will turn blue are pointing to all the Californians leaving their state and moving into Texas. And so that's what's blowing up Texas, is not changes of the Texans. It's the importing of all these Californians who, despite seeing firsthand what voting Democrat did to their state, are probably not going to stop.
And there are people that are pointing to Texas going blue or going purple because of that. But there's also a lot of people, at least in their rhetoric, saying that it is Texans are changing as well. Not just that they're getting replaced.
I don't believe that would be happening. But I do see the argument that the influx of Californians would be changing the demographics of political alignment.
True. And it could be that is the case, and in fact it probably is to a certain degree. But with, like I said, New York now having data saying that their Democrat lead is plummeting.
And I suppose the only opinion poll that actually matters is the election. So, I mean, people can say anything.
To a large extent, yeah.
What's that?
To a large extent, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, it sounds good. I hope the Democrat lead in New York continues to deteriorate. But it could just be people who are like, oh, I can't admit to being in favor of Biden. In like the same way people couldn't admit to being in favor of Trump back when that was the social death knell. Like there's probably people who like I can't admit to it, but I'm probably still going to vote Democrat. I mean, I think that's probably a
But
decent.
you have to remember why the people were afraid to admit that they were for Trump was because everything was saying that if you are for Trump, then you're an evil, racist, neo-Nazi. And there is none of that rhetoric when it comes to Biden.
You are an enter slang here-ist.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's none of that when it comes to Biden currently. The media hasn't turned on Biden and started saying, if you support Joe Biden, then you're clearly a racist.
Which would actually make more sense compared to saying that you're a racist if you support Trump.
Yeah, it absolutely would, considering this is still something that drives me crazy. Trump was accused of racism when he spent a massive amount of, I guess you could call it political capital, to get the ridiculously restrictive country club that he was a part of to allow in blacks and Jews.
No.
Yeah, he won a fucking award from the NAACP, didn't he?
Yeah. And he's getting called a racist. He was called a racist the entire time that he was running, the entire time that he was in office, and everything else. Meanwhile, the man who damn near was trying to say the N-word more than the song 100% Nigga, when he was talking about Clarence Thomas, not called a racist at all.
But I just love the fact that the NAACP has like colored people in its name. There's like, how did they not been forced to change that?
Yeah, it's because when they put that, it was what the polite term for black people was at the time.
Yeah, but like Coon Cheese had to change their name, and they were not named after a racial slur.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love how that's like the biggest sticking point for Terry is Coon Cheese.
Well, they shouldn't have changed their name. That's what I will die on this hill. They should not have changed their name.
Oh, I totally agree.
I agree. I just think it's funny. It's a funny.
Just like I don't think Redskin Lollies should have been renamed, or Gollywog Biscuits should have been renamed.
Mm-hmm.
They weren't racist names.
Yeah, it's not like they were called like Shuck and Jive Flapjacks.
And like the one thing that I've always been willing to concede is I don't know if Nigger Boy soap pads had to change their name or if they just went out of business. But if they changed their name, I'd be like, yeah, that's fine. That makes sense. Like you can't have a company in the year 2022 called Nigger Boy soap pads. That's fine. Change that. I won't give you much of a hard time for changing that one. But Gollywog Biscuits, Redskin Lollies.
Turns out you're going after them, and it's just a family name. It's a very unfortunate family name, but it's just a family name.
Well, my apologies to the Nigger Boy family then.
There have been a lot of names, like when customers call in, their names will pop up on the screen. And I have to take a pause just to muster saying the name. Like there's been a few coon names that have popped up in different spellings, whether it be the straightaway COON, the KUHN.
Whoa, haven't heard that one. KUHN, that's a stupid one.
Yeah.
'Cause I would have pronounced that Kun.
It's a German.
Oh, okay.
It's a
So
German
it's like
spelling.
Kuhn.
So.
Kuhn.
Yes, my name is Kuhn.
If you want to talk about names that you had difficulty with, I just have to bring up one story from when I was an EMT. I can't use the person's actual name, partially because I can't pronounce the person's actual name, partially because that would be really goddamn illegal. But the gist of the story was I was transporting a young child, and the young child's mother was riding along with. I had the
If the young child said, my kitty itches scratch it, then...
No. Thankfully, this is not a crossover of those two stories. What was the case, though, was just talking to the mother of the child as we're riding, because the child's very young, and the mother's talking about when they came to America and all that sort of things, and why they came, and how they've been enjoying their time in the area. And throughout the story, it comes out that they were originally from West Africa. And I'm looking at the child's medical sheet, and I'm about to take a set of vitals, so I tend to try to refer to my patients by name to let them know that I'm talking to them if someone else is in back. So I look at the medical sheet and I go, I don't know how to say this name. So I just kind of lean over to the mother and say, hey, I'm very sorry to ask, but how do I pronounce this name? And the mother just looks at me and goes, oh, you don't have to worry about that. Just call him Toby. Everyone else does. Excuse me?
Oh my god.
So immediately, in the back of my mind, I am just howling with laughter. Because your name is Toby! Immediately pops into my head.
No, Toby. Kunta Kinte.
So, what's that a reference to? Your name is Toby.
Roots.
Roots.
What's that, Roots?
It's a movie about slavery.
Okay.
And
with Mr. Reading Rainbow in it.
Yes,
Yep.
there's... And Whoopi Goldberg, if I remember correctly. She was in Roots, wasn't she? Or was that The Color Purple?
I think it was
The color purple.
Okay, I always confuse those two. But
Uh-oh.
They found us.
Your name is Toby is there's a new slave whose name is Kunta Kinte. And the slave owner tries to say, no, your name is Toby, and he keeps on saying Kunta Kinte. So he gets tied up, and they start whipping him while yelling, your name is Toby! And he keeps on responding.
In fairness, black people are pretty stupid. Joe Biden did tell me that. So maybe he just didn't understand that his name had changed.
You're misunderstanding, Terry. What Joe Biden had told you is that poor kids are just as smart as white kids.
Well, he also said that they don't know where the DMV is or how to use the internet, which makes them pretty stupid, really.
True. But yeah, just the fact that the mother told me to call her tiny child Toby, and the fact that they were from West Africa, back in my mind, howling with laughter while trying to be professional up front. Because how the fuck do you respond to that? How the fuck do you respond to...
No. What you do is you take Toby to the supermarket and say, I don't know which brand of cotton to buy. Can you pick one for me?
See, I was just dying to lean forward to this young boy and go, your name is Kunta Kinte.
Don't let them tell you otherwise.
Yeah.
So,
I was just dying that entire transport.
in looking at IMDb,
Yeah.
because why not? Richard Roundtree is in Roots. Ian McShane is in Roots. Let's see, George Hamilton
I know the name Richard Roundtree. What's he famous for?
Shaft, I think.
Right. Okay.
He's one bad motherfucker.
And
Shut your mouth.
All the time about Shaq.
O.J. Simpson.
O.J. Simpson, the guy from the Naked Gun movies.
Yes. That's where we know him from.
Yep. That's how we all know O.J. Simpson and nothing else.
And Morticia Adams.
Which one?
O.J. Simpson played Morticia Adams?
No, the original. The original Morticia Adams is in Roots.
What was her name? Like Carolyn Jones? Is that it?
Let's see here.
See, I was really hoping that someone just, for some reason, named their daughter Morticia Adams, and it wasn't him trying to say, yeah, it's a woman who played Morticia Adams. But Morticia Adams? Shit.
And, of course, Louis Gossett Jr.
Let's see.
And Lloyd Bridges.
So,
Roots is a very famous
Carolyn Jones, yeah.
A lot of people quote.
Robert Reed. Mike Brady.
Lloyd Bridges, isn't that picked the wrong week to
Mandelbaum.
Isn't that I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue?
Yeah, I think that's him.
Yeah.
But I think isn't he also the Mandelbaum guy from Seinfeld?
Yeah. It's go time.
And then like they all break their back trying to lift the TV, and then Seinfeld just picks it up and moves it for them. You think you're better than me?
So I was able to actually get my results from my CT scan off of my form.
Okay, so what are you dying from?
Let me see what the... Being that you can dissect these words for me here, Sanguine. Let's see here. The exam was the CT scan of the abdomen and pelvis with IV contrast, which, if you've never had that done before, I would not... it's not my favorite feeling in the world.
I'll bear that in mind.
Because
the
contrast
normal...
makes you feel like you pee yourself, and
yep,
it's an odd feeling at first, and then it's just like, oh, I think I actually did pee, but you didn't.
That's what you keep telling yourself, but we all know.
He spilled a drink, okay?
In a multi-million-dollar machine. Let's see. Let's see. Technique is the multi-detector CT scan with 125 milliliters of contrast. No oral contrast is administered. Multiple planes were reconstructed for examination. Gee, thanks. Let's see. Findings: lower chest.
That seems a bit excessive. Do you know how much one plane costs, let alone having to build several just in order to look at your footage?
Well, as long as they look like the toilet duck, we should be fine. And that is a throwback to my childhood. I have no idea why I love that commercial so much. But
which commercial?
Toilet duck.
Toilet duck.
I don't remember that.
It is from, I'd have to say, the early 90s, late 80s.
I remember the toilet duck. I don't remember the ad for it.
It was essentially a duck flying a toilet bowl cleaner squirt bottle.
I remember it now. Yeah,
and it was dressed like a war pilot.
Yep. I remember it now.
It was adorable. I don't get it. So let's see here. Lower chest, visualize
Just send Sanguine a scan of the paper and then just get him to analyze it for you.
I have a feeling that he's typing in a word either to Google to see how it's pronounced or to me to see how it's pronounced.
I will put it in the side chat.
Okay. Mediastitional. Mediastitional, rather.
Mediastitional. Mediastinal. Okay.
Structures are remarkable.
I have good lungs, so there we go. But my structures are unremarkable, which, I think they're quite nice.
So
yeah, that essentially means nothing there.
Yeah.
So you're making the whole thing up, Johnny, is what it sounds like.
Well, at least as far as my lungs are concerned.
And yeah, the mediastinal or mediastinum is the tissue that is between the lungs. It's the area that separates the lungs.
I gotcha. All right. Let's see. In the abdomen, sub-centimeter hepatic hypodensities are too small to further characterize, but statistically likely to represent cysts. No suspicious hepatic lesion is seen. There is no intrahepatic ductal dilation. The hepatic and portal veins are patent.
Oh, well, thank goodness for that.
That one is pronounced patent.
Patent.
Yeah, you have patents for inventions. You have patent airways.
But is he dying or not? Is the question.
What the fuck was that?
So, patent means that they're open. So if you have a patent airway, it means that your airway is open. It's able to allow air to move. So it sounds like there's the potential that you have some cysts growing that are too small to really be able to go, yep, these are absolutely cysts, and we know why they're there, but they are clear enough for them to go, looks like it's probably cysts. We're going to say that it's cysts, but we could be wrong, but it looks like it probably is.
If it's not cis, is it transgender?
I was thinking of a way to make that joke, but I decided it wasn't worth it.
And aren't you glad you didn't?
Terry, once again, Terry, you made the right decision.
You're
God
welcome.
Damn it, Jack.
You're welcome. I regret nothing.
No regrets.
That's because in order to regret something, you would first have to have shame.
Yeah, that's true.
Since when have I ever been known to express shame in any
Exactly
capacity?
my point. You not regretting anything isn't saying anything special because you don't have shame.
Hey, he is willing to step on that landmine for just about anyone.
He didn't even have to. He just went, well, it's there, and jumped on it with both feet.
It's because he's the shmoo.
Mm.
And if that movie reference doesn't hit you, I don't apologize.
Most movie references go over my head, so I don't care.
It's from Lucky Number 11.
Yeah, never heard of it.
Oh, yeah.
It's Morgan Freeman's favorite story. Yeah, that's really all I got for it. All right, so let's see, 2.7 centimeter left renal cyst with mural calcification. The gallbladder.
Okay, so that's a cyst that is large enough for them to actually be able to determine more about it than just, yeah, it looks like it's probably a cyst. And calcification is, you guys know what calcification is, right? Or do you want me to explain calcification?
Isn't that just like a...
I know everything about calcification. I know everything about it that has ever been the case.
You know nothing about it, you lying whore.
That's essentially just a hardening of a cyst, really.
Calcification's the depositing of calcium forming a hard rock-like surface.
Yeah.
Kind of like bone calcifies,
Like a
which
stone.
makes it strong. Yes. Kidney stones calcify.
Yay. The gallbladder, common bile duct, spleen, pancreas, and kidneys and adrenal glands are otherwise unremarkable. Rude. The nanopacified small and large bowel are unremarkable. The appendix is normal, no free air or free fluid. There is no mesenteric or abdominal okay, that one's going. This one's coming your way.
Okay. Lymphadenopathic.
Yeah.
Or pathy, rather. And it's an N there, not M. Making sure that you didn't type it wrong.
Nope, that's the one. Yeah, that's an M. Lymphadenopathy.
Yep.
Okay. The aorta is normal in caliber, small fat-filled umbilical hernia. Yay. Let's see. The nanopacified urinary bladder is unremarkable for a degree of distension.
And just to let you know what lymphadenopathy is, it is the common swelling of a pea-sized lymph node that is a common reaction to infection or illness. So it's just saying that, yeah, your immune system's triggered.
Let's see. No free fluid noted within the pelvis. Congratulations. Let's see. Bones. There are no acute osseous abnormalities. Okay. And left with the impression there is no acute abnormality.
And osseous just means pertaining to bone. So when it said bones, there's no clear osseous abnormalities. What effectively they just said is bones. There's no clear bone weirdness.
Yeah, your bones are normal.
Yeah. Bones normal.
Yeah. And that's pretty much, that's it. Impression,
So,
no acute abnormality.
Sounds like you have a number of different locations of cysts. Some of them large enough to be figured out what exactly is going on with them. Some of them too small to figure out what's going on with them, but they're going, it kind of looks like a cyst, so we're going to say that it's a cyst. And you have one that is ossifying. That one said that that was in your kidney, right? The ossifying cyst.
I will have to bring that up again.
But at least, I mean, there's something there, so that means it can be treated. Like, it would be worse if they said, yeah, we still don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they at least found something that they can, treat.
A lot of it kind of sounded fairly minor and kind of routine findings.
Yeah,
Whereas, yeah, he has some cysts. We'll need to deal with those. And yeah, he has this going on, but it's kind of like, none of it was, oh my fucking god, did you see this thing?
Maybe they're waiting until they can see him in person because it's no fun unless they see the look on his face when he finds out.
Ah. Or maybe it's... I think I've said this before. Did I ever tell you guys about the time that I popped my plantar tendon?
Please tell us every single detail of this horrible sounding story.
I'm glad that you asked, John. Or Jack, sorry. Too many J names at the moment.
There's two. There's two of us.
That's too many.
Yes, that is too many. You have a problem with how I'm counting now as well?
As the host, yes.
It wasn't one many, it was two. But yes, there's the Plantar Standard, which is a small, about pencil thick tendon that runs down the back of your leg, pretty much right next to the Achilles tendon, and then runs down your foot towards your toes and runs up your leg past your knee. And it is almost entirely vestigial, because what it was used for is it's one of the things that makes monkey toes as grippy as monkey toes are. Humans, we don't really have properly grippy monkey toes. Even those of us who have somewhat grippy toes, they aren't monkey toe grippy. So a large number of people don't even have a plantar tendon now. Those that do, the vast majority of them that do, if it pops without any issue, just tears. They might get a kind of like, ooh, something weird went on. Oh, well, and they'll continue on with their day, never realizing something happened. For a very small group that have it, and it pops, and it causes pain when it pops, it can knot up after popping, which is bad. Because if it knots up, then it starts rubbing against other muscles in your leg, because there's not much room for a bundle of muscle and tendon to just hang out. So I was in, unfortunately, that third category. Popped my plantaris. My plantaris was there. Then popped, and it knotted up as it was retracting up the leg, causing it to rub against all my calf muscles. Rather annoying, rather painful.
Sounds like it.
So, when I first went in, they didn't know this was what was going on, of course, so they sent me for imaging to see if I had damaged the bone in my leg. Nope, no damage to the bone. So they did one sort of MRI scanning in one location to see if they could find anything. They couldn't find anything there. So I was sent to a specialist to have some work done. The specialist tried going through a whole host of different things as to what it could be, checking if my nerves were okay, checking if I had a small tear in this muscle or that, and then finally went, holy shit, it might be your plantar tendon. So he figured out what it was, did some tests, went, okay, most likely it's a plantar tendon, but the only way to confirm, beyond a shadow of a doubt, is to send you back in to get more imaging done, because we need the MRI done in this specific manner in order to show a ruptured plantar tendon knotted up. And that's when I scheduled my MRI, went through all that shit. It was the day of my MRI. My insurance company called and went, hey, we noticed that you didn't do 2 weeks of physical therapy before this MRI. No, because I already did 2 weeks of physical therapy before the first MRI. This is the same injury. So it's just completing the imaging that I already qualified for when I did the 2 weeks of physical therapy the first time. Apparently that is not how my insurance company interpreted it. And they were just calling me to let me know that they had already canceled my imaging.
That was nice of them.
all kinds of fun there. Irksome as hell. Ended up just going back to the specialist and going, okay, here's what's going on. And he went, okay, this is how we treat this. So, shall we just treat it, see if it knocks it out? If it does, good, we got the right thing. If it doesn't, start back from square one and figure out what the fuck's going on? Sure, did that. And my leg started slowly functioning without pain again. But that's the Plantar Standard story.
But there's something I've been curious about that Sanguine might know the answer to. At the end of every JPC, or most JPC's videos, he shills for a company called Blue Blocks, and they claim that blue light from screens is like the worst thing ever. Is there any truth to that? Is like that just total bullshit?
Blue light is the hardest on your eyes.
Yes.
So
your eyes. Oh, sorry.
It increases strain on your eyes looking at a screen that has standard light or blue light.
Okay.
Or blue tint to it. Go ahead, jump.
Sorry.
Sounds like you really want to jump in.
Yes. Your eyes naturally want to perceive certain wavelengths of light at different parts of the day. In the morning, your eyes will prefer bluer light. In the evening, your eyes will prefer more red-shifted light.
Okay.
Which is why, if you're about to go to sleep, they have your Microsoft now has that night light function. Yeah, which it makes your screen look a little bit redder. And that's because it's easier on your eyes right before you're about to go to sleep.
Okay, so that's why generally a bad idea to use the computer like before you go to bed.
Before you go to sleep, yep.
Yes.
And also, part of that is not just that it's harder on your eyes, but blue light has been shown to kind of down-regulate the production of melatonin.
What's melatonin do?
Melatonin helps you go to sleep and helps you stay asleep.
Okay, that's why I don't sleep then. I've got none of that. I'm obliterating all of that with my blue light.
Also, if you take too large of a melatonin dose, it can make you have horrendous nightmares, apparently.
Well, I never remember my dreams anyway, so bring on the nightmares. I won't remember what they are in the morning.
I can see Freddy Krueger in your mind just be like, I'm bored. Go away.
Yeah.
I've never found a dosage that causes nightmares in me, but I've heard from other people that if they take too much melatonin, horrendous nightmares.
I mean, yeah. I like when I wake up, there might be like a vague sense of what I was dreaming about, but I don't remember any specifics. Like I might be like, oh man, that was an awesome dream. I have no idea what it was about, or holy shit, that was terrifying, or whatever. But I don't remember any details, just like a basic emotion that I wake up feeling, and then 5 seconds later it's gone.
Like I can picture in my mind what a dream was that I had, but if I try to explain it, there's no way in hell I could.
I have zero knowledge of what I dream about.
So then this next question will be meaningless towards Terry, but it will possibly mean something for you other two. Have you ever had reoccurring dreams, or weirder still, a persistent dream world?
Yeah.
Which one?
Which one? Why? Do you know of it?
Do you have the persistent dream world, or do you have the reoccurring dreams? I asked about two different things.
There's overlap between some of my dreams. Oftentimes they involve driving.
Okay. So
In a car or on a golf course?
In a car, Terry.
Like,
In a car.
Now that just doesn't make sense. Why are you trying to hit a golf ball in a car?
I also think that it's really weird. The driving dream is always really weird for me because I never have good control over the car. So I'll be like steering way to one side and the car will be like barely moving in that direction.
Are you in agreement with me that this is not Jack's dream? Jack just refuses to acknowledge his morning commute?
no, I think what it is he's actually a woman and he's dreaming about his driving skills.
See, I don't think that it's even a dream. I think that he just kind of blacks out once he gets into a car and then he is at work and he's had the weirdest dream as he was coming to work and he just couldn't control his car. He ran over like 12 people.
Including a little girl and a dog.
And her little dog, too.
You've got to throw in a dog to make it even worse.
At least that meant that he hit two things and it wasn't a, well, Full Metal Alchemist situation.
That's a bit too far there, Sanguine.
But play with her.
Play with me. No, my wife is trying to get into anime, and I'm like, I want to show her Full Metal Alchemist, but I don't want to show her Full Metal Alchemist.
Show her Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
I actually showed my mom Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood because I know that she's like low key. She has like no sympathy for characters on TV. Like
no, the correct choice is Pokemon. That is the one true anime.
I'm sorry, you have to go Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood so that you can see the most Alexander Anderson. Oh, not Alexander. No, it is Alexander Armstrong. You need to see the most Alexander Armstrong of all the Alexander Armstrongs. I think it was like the second episode, and he's punching the ground to throw rocks of his face at his opponent.
Look, if you don't show her the Pokemon anime, how's she going to be the very best like no one ever was? You have to think about these things, Johnny.
But yeah, like I said, you have to go for Brotherhood. That way she can see Alexander Armstrong running around throwing his faces at another person. For shits and giggles, because it's fucking Armstrong. What do you expect him to do? Throw someone else's rock face at someone? No. He's going to throw himself, using the Armstrong family style.
No.
Yes.
I will also allow the Samurai Pizza Cats.
Just to answer Devil Fruit Zero's question, yes to both, which is why I haven't shown her it.
Dogs and children.
And I don't want to. I don't want to watch the funeral scene.
But if she likes dogs and children, why wouldn't you show it to her? She can get both of her favorite things in one package.
Johnny.
Yeah.
It's a bad day for rain.
Right. River Phoenix's brother? Or... Richard Pryor's daughter? Which rain are we talking about?
No, he said he didn't want to watch the funeral scene. That's a quote from the funeral scene in Full Metal Alchemist.
It is.
It's been so long since I watched it.
God damn it, Johnny!
It's the one where Mustang's crying, for crying out loud.
Johnny, you ruined it. Terry started it. I was going to continue. I was hoping that all three of us would and just act like we had absolutely no clue what the fuck he was talking about. And slowly make him doubt himself.
No, I have never seen Full Metal anything, so
Yeah, Terry doesn't actually know Sanguine. So
I realize Terry doesn't actually know.
Hold on. In your mind, you and all three of you were combining forces to try and humiliate me, but Terry has never seen the show, and Johnny didn't know what you were aiming for.
Oh,
so
no,
you
no.
were
I knew that Terry didn't know. I was just hopping in on it because it would be hilarious.
An inside joke with yourself.
And actually, I was not participating in any debauchery of any kind.
And he would have gotten away with it too if Johnny had cooperated.
Yeah.
With knowing.
See, this is the problem. If it had been the other way around and Johnny hadn't known, and I'd started that up, Terry's innate Aussie-ness would have compelled him to join along. The problem is that it went the other way. Terry didn't know, and then I had to rely on Johnny.
Yeah.
And then Johnny
They'd have dropped the ball.
Well, if you'd have told me ahead of time, I still would have probably dropped the ball.
See, this is why I've said many times, the main aspect of Australian culture that we need to steal is their ability to just effortlessly bullshit and lie because one of the others is doing so.
It's time-tested strategy. It always works. You just you don't call out your friends when they're bullshitting. It's not cool.
It's not even you don't call out your friends. It is if you hear another Aussie talk any sort of shit, you guys immediately, oh yeah, that is absolutely true. And he didn't even go through the worst of it. They have fucking venom. What? Koala bears have venom? Yeah, they have venom. They fucking just kill everything. We're terrified of them. What the fuck?
Well, see, there you betrayed your American. We're not scared of them.
You need to go to the
Aussies know how to handle the drop bears. They prey on tourists because the tourists don't know what to expect. Okay. But when you've grown up around them, it's like, oh, nah, nice try. And
yeah, it's one of the greatest aspects of Australian culture is just that innate ability and drive to bullshit everything.
Plus, if you ever want to say the word cunt, being Australian always helps.
Or just being an asshole, that helps too. Because I've never had any problem saying cunt.
There's significant overlap between the two.
Well, it is how your island is populated.
I didn't realize that making an extra Google profile would have been such a pain in the ass just to make fun of Moonshock a little bit.
Yeah, that was great though.
What happened? What happened?
He pretended to be Garrett Hedlund.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I have my Garrett Hedlund profile now.
Yeah, so now anytime he wants to call Moonshock gay, and he knows gay because he was in Tron Legacy, he doesn't have to go through the trouble again.
Nice.
Until the real Garrett Hedlund shows up eventually.
Mm-hmm. I should start tagging him every time Quippers goes live. I've neglected to tag Ice Cube, so maybe we need to switch over to Garrett Hedlund.
Yeah, I've been slacking on my tagging of James Woods.
Yeah. Maybe you should give Shatner a try. Start tagging him.
God damn it. Cannibalistic Wizard, did you really just reference Goshi Goshi in here?
Maybe.
I think that's the anime that
Cannibalistic with the Boki no Pika. Isn't that like an incest anime or something?
According to this, it sounds like it's hentai porn.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure it's the one where it's the just ridiculously fat, disgusting bastard just hollowing someone out.
Well, I'm glad I had no idea what you're talking about, because that sounds rather unpleasant.
Yeah, and that's what the Goshu Goshi is, because it was a sound effect.
Well, my interest went from nil to nil.
Negative?
So
Yeah.
The only good anime was Renee, and she still had her YouTube channel.
Can I just say, there's this weird thing in hentai.
Okay, no, that one's the gay Shoda one. Okay, that one's a different one. It is still fucked up, but it's not as fucked up as the one I thought you were referencing.
Why do they feel this compulsory urge in Japan to include a fat, ugly guy in like every fucking hentai? Why?
So that the Western audience feels represented.
But seriously, it's awful. I don't get it.
And so are Western people. They're the worst. I've been listening to the left. Everything to do with the West is evil and horrible, and it sounds like that's adequately represented by the big fat guy in the hentai.
But you have heard the recent bitching and moaning from the translator, not the fan translator community, but the professional Funimation translator community, right?
I'm vaguely aware of it.
So, a bunch of Japanese studios and game studios and animation studios and a manga
I do know this one.
Well,
yeah.
Decided that they were just sick of all the different weird fucking changes that the translators were making.
Yeah, they offered a literal translation as well as the localized one. That's right.
Yep. So that you can see the literal translation or the localized one. And also they're hiring a bunch of the fan translators that they actually look at the work of and go, oh yeah, this person's actually translating this correctly.
And not injecting work politics into it?
Yep. And there's a lot of people online getting really pissed off that, no, you don't understand. You can't just avoid us and get your work to the people that want to buy your work without going through us first.
Yeah. What right do you have not to pay Californian actors and translators?
What right do you have not to pay Californian actors and translators to change your work entirely? Like, there's one part that is always used as the reference for how much they change it, and it's from the Dragon Maid anime.
Yep.
Where a character with big tits that normally wears skimpy outfits is wearing
I like it already.
fairly conservative clothes at one point. And they change the interaction between her and one of the other main characters to explain why she's wearing plain clothes. So, in the direct translation, she's asked why she changed her clothes, and functionally says that, well, I was trying to dress more modestly because I've heard that some people enjoy that. And did it work? To which the other character says, next time change your body because they can actually choose their form. The translation, the localized translation, made it, so why did you change your clothes? Well, this patriarchal bullshit was really getting down on me and they were going after me for how I dress. So I decided to tone it down. Oh yeah, fuck them. Any day now they'll be asking to see your tits again. And you're going,
that is like a word-for-word translation. I don't see what the problem is.
Yeah, it's... I was wondering when they were going to catch on to what was going on in America, because Japan is not nearly the same culture as America. And they must be getting the complaints.
It's 1 for 1.
Exactly.
They must be hearing the complaints from the fans who are like, listen, they're not representing your company accurately. And the problem is that they probably had to deal with a lot of union shit.
Well, and actually, when it comes down to like show like Rising of the Shield Hero, someone asked them, why did you have this character accuse this guy of rape? Didn't you realize that was going to be a problem for the Whammons?
And they were like, huh? What the fuck?
He goes, we don't fucking care.
Yeah.
Like we don't worry about that shit over here. Like you go do that over there.
Didn't he further and effectively say, yeah, some women lie about it?
Yeah.
Well, some women do. That's just factual.
Yeah, it is objectively true that is the case, but that was enough to get people really pissed off at Rising Shield Hero.
No.
It's kind of like how people got really pissed off at Goblin Slayer because the evil, nightmarish creatures do evil, nightmarish things.
How dare they?
Yeah.
Oh, I hope they got cancelled for that.
I don't see, like, I mean, I watched the scene and it's like, woof. But, like, I don't see how it's that big of a deal,
Yeah, it shouldn't be. But do all of you guys know what the scene is? I know that Johnny does. Jack, Terry, do you guys know?
No.
If it's anime, I've got no idea about anything.
Okay. So, do you want to explain the scene or shall I, Johnny?
I'll build up to it. You could probably get to the scene better. So,
okay.
As far as Goblin Slayer as the beginning goes, it's kind of built kind of like this fantasy world isekai type story where you have a character, like, it's there's not really an isekai though, but it kind of has that build up to where they're in this world and they're like, oh, we got to build up our levels and do all this, and it's like, okay. They're kind of treating it like a D&D game type scenario, and so this healer forms. I don't know. They kind of like find her and they're like, yeah, let's have a healer in our group, and they're like, yeah, let's do this, and it's very happy-go-lucky, they're only goblins. What can happen? Type of thing.
A group of young adventurers first setting off to go take on a dungeon, and it's one of the easy dungeons, so they're good to go. They know what they're doing. They're getting their equipment. They're getting together their party. Continue on, Johnny.
Oh, no, that's pretty much where you can pick up from there.
Okay, so everything's fantastic. They have their healer. They have a sorcerer, if I remember correctly. They have their frontliner and a decent person for range. And there's like one or two other people mixed into the party. So decent party composition. They go into the dungeon and everything's going to be good. This is how they're going to start building their big name. And then the goblins show up. And the frontliner draws his sword and immediately goes to slash at the goblin, but he's using too long of a sword and it hits the ceiling, and the vibration is enough to cause him to drop it because he's rather inexperienced, and the goblins swarm him and start stabbing him, just cutting him to pieces.
All right, so that was a bad idea, using that big sword.
Yeah.
People start trying to rush in to help him, and they're just getting tackled and dragged off and stabbed and gutted by these goblins, and it gets down to, I think it's the sorcerer and the cleric.
The sorcerer, the cleric, and the monk.
Yes. And
And
the sorcerer was the other female, right?
The monk and the sorcerer are both, and the cleric are all females.
Okay, they were all female. So the monk, if I remember correctly, tries to fight, gets subdued. They kind of start dragging her off to one side. The sorcerer gets subdued. The cleric gets knocked down, and then
the cleric gets knocked down. The sorcerer tries to help, but freezes, and and so she just ends up getting stabbed.
She gets stabbed, and then they start beginning to defile the monk and sorcerer.
Yeah.
As the sorcerer is bleeding out from being stabbed. And the cleric is seeing all of this. And she knows that she's next. And
that's pretty intense, yeah.
And I think don't one of them piss themselves?
Yep, one of them pisses themselves, and it does nothing to stop what's going on. They're terrified. The sorcerer and monk are screaming for help.
And the monk just goes silent, and then the camera pans over, and you just see the goblin's having his way with her, and she is just zoned out. She is just, I am dead to the world. This is happening, and I am out.
Yep, it starts with them screaming, and then she goes dead silent and is just completely broken. And the sorcerer or sorceress is now begging for someone to just kill her as this is happening. And that's when someone comes in and is able to prevent the cleric from being affected. But the monk is completely broken. The sorceress is going to die from her wounds, effectively.
Well, and then doesn't the guy just finally just put her out?
Yep, because the cleric has already spent all their spells, and he realizes that the sorceress is going to die, so he just puts her out of her misery. And that's the opening for the show.
God, sounds happy.
No, yeah, that sounds pretty tough to watch.
Yeah, it was. I remember watching it. I'm like, oh, it's gonna be one of those. Yeah, I wonder if I'm actually gonna like this. And then, the more I got in, I'm like, okay. Oh God! It's just.
Yep, and it's all built up that way to show that this isn't a world that there's no punishment for fucking up. There's no issue if you fail to do something. No, this is a world that if you fuck up, it will take everything from you. And yes, we were talking about Goblin Slayer.
Yeah, I don't want to watch a series where everything is fucking depressing.
Oh, that's the thing. This is the start of the show. So it starts off really high, and then it goes to that just holy shit darkness. And then the rest of the show is that cleric following around the Goblin Slayer, the person who saved her, and learning how to actually survive.
That's actually the darkest part of the season.
Yep, because it is
of the season.
Of the season.
It is meant to be this really dark, holy shit opening. And then it picks up from there, and it becomes really fucking cool because it is all about how they go through this world, how they defeat the challenges, which that first bit made fucking obvious that if you fuck up, you're done. Horrendous things are going to happen to you. So you have to go into situations knowing how to handle them. And it just carries on with that.
Jack, do you like I guess the animes that have like the fighting, and then there's like the rage mode scene, to where he's like, you know, fuck it all. I'm taking everything out.
I don't know what trope you're referring to.
Well, it's essentially
the character goes berserk.
Yeah, pretty much. Like everything's at the end. You know, the character's, you know, critically injured, and then finally it's just like, you know, if I don't do anything, everyone's gonna fucking die, and then he just hits beast mode and just eradicates everything.
I suppose I know what you're talking about.
There's really I have no other way to describe it, but yeah, it's definitely got one of those, and it's a pretty awesome scene.
Mm-hmm. And like I said, one of the highlights of the show is it makes it clear that the heroes are at a disadvantage when it comes to dealing with shit. Other than if they're smart, if they're careful, if they prepare, they can win. And there's all kinds of cool shit where at one point, it's all based around D&D effectively. So at one point, the main character gets a gate scroll that they've established long before. This is their, oh shit, something's gone wrong gate scroll. And everyone's thinking, oh yeah, that's how they get out. That's how they can just dip out of here. Turns out the gate scroll goes to the bottom of the ocean, and it opens an extremely small portal on their side and a big portal in the ocean, and it just forces water through at extremely high pressures. So he uses it as a fucking water cutter.
Which one is this?
And really... Say again?
Which one's that?
It's in Goblin Slayer. It's when they're going up against, was it a hobgoblin? And he gets the gate scroll out. And it's just this jet of water that he starts cutting the thing to pieces with.
So,
It's science.
It's awesome. It is thinking through the rules of the world and using them to your advantage when everything is set against you, and they really set up the world to get that everything is set against you. You fuck up, you're dead or worse.
So speaking of science and anime, I've been watching Dr. Stone again.
Oh, nice.
I like that show. I have some problems with it. Number one, they have that channel, How to Make Everything. They have him try. He has tried to make glass, and from appearances, it is not easy to make glass. But Dr. Stone, they have no problem with it whatsoever. So
it depends on what type of glass and to what specifications you're trying to make it.
No, they were able to make crystal clear glass right out the gate.
Oh yeah, that is difficult because you need the exact right mixture of and right purity of sand.
You need the right. It's not just the ingredients, it's the methodology. If you don't get things perfect, you do not end up with crystal clear glass.
Yep.
Just like that.
It's the kill me. No, I've seen a few episodes of Dr. Stone, but enough to like be like, okay, I wish I caught this from the beginning so I know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
There's a great thing about the internet. It's called, when you find the show, go back to episode 1.
I will also say this. I will also say this about the show, because it's not a spoiler. Because the premise of the show is that all of humanity freezes into like stone blocks for about 3,000 years, and then for some reason, and that the show goes into why, but they start breaking out, or a few people start breaking out, and the main character at a certain point, a couple episodes in, finds a group of people who are living there. And it's obvious that this group has been very isolated for the last 3,000 years, because that's it. That's the only society there, which makes me question, what the fuck about inbreeding? You've been a group of like 30 people for the last 3,000 years. How are body parts not falling off of you motherfuckers?
Well, you have two different things that could happen. Either they would have had a stable breeding population of 200 pairs. That's option one. Option two is the really fucked up one that does require a shit ton of people to have died, because it is the effectively purified clonal species route. And what I mean by purified clonal species route is, if you have a high rate of genetic overlap between members of a species, you can reach a point where the species is damn near just clones of each other, or a population is damn near just clones of each other, and the ones that were fucked up died before they procreated, so the fucked up genes got weeded out, and it was just the people that kept on being able to survive were the ones that did, until it was only the genes
but
least likely to kill you.
I mean, I don't know how often that occurs in nature.
Well,
I've never heard of it.
Cheetahs are, for instance, damn near clonal species. It makes them extremely prone to disease, but they are damn near clonal. They went down to effectively just below the 200 breeding population size, and then have come back up from that. And this does have massive issues, because there's lack of diversity within the species then, which means if a disease is able to kill one of them, it's pretty much able to just sweep through all of them, which is the big issue with that. Like I said, that second approach is extremely rare. Most of the time, it just ends up with people dying off ridiculously.
Dante is saying that's not how it works. You'd still have genetic bottlenecking. You'd have diseases galore.
You'd have genetic bottlenecking, and like I said, if you had a disease that swept through, it would kill off the entire species effectively, like it did with the various species of banana that we've had. The reason why banana-flavored candy, for instance, doesn't taste like bananas is because they taste like bananas from the 1920s.
I heard that wasn't true.
I heard that was
I heard that was a urban myth.
Where did you hear that it was an urban myth? Because that is...
I think I heard you and Skep talking about that a while back.
Yeah, it's fairly well documented that we've gone through like 4 different species of banana. Because
I remember hearing that and looking at it online, and they said it was an urban myth.
I would be interested to find out where, because yeah, it's something that I've seen documentation for that is saying, yeah, we've gone through them, because bananas are a clonal species. At least the large groves of bananas that we currently rely on are clonal species.
Let's see here.
And yeah, Dante, you still end up with genetic bottlenecking, which is a massive issue. So it is not a stable over a sufficiently long period of time, it will still collapse, but you can end up with it being stable for a short period of time. And as I said, yeah, if a disease hits and takes out one, once you get a clonal species, you end up with it taking out pretty much everything. The royal families are a decent example. It ended up with increasing rates of issues. There's a bunch of reasons for that.
Anemia.
It mainly comes down to when you have a stable enough society that you're able to prolong the life of, let's just call it specimens, that wouldn't survive if not for the society as a whole protecting them. And then those specimens are able to continue breeding. That keeps the trait that would have resulted in die-off in the gene pool. And then if you have this be the royals of a society where they are the most protected, continue that out and you aren't weeding out the what would have been dead ends. It's relying on several very specific conditions in order for it to even be slightly possible, which is why it is extremely rare. It's not impossible because, like I said, we have cheetahs being damn near clonal. Over time, though, yeah, it will always result in complete die-off because it's just a matter of time before the first disease that is able to attack the population as a whole wipes out the population as a whole. Though if you have a population that is constantly going through decline, but you have new breeding partners getting brought in. So for instance, let's say that you have the 30 people in the start, and then you have those 30 people breed and next generation. Then you come in at a certain point with another group of 30, even if that initial group of 30 is starting to die off due to lack of diversity, that sudden increase in diversity is able to extend it. And then it starts to have massive inbreeding issues. Then you get another jump start of diverse material into the population, and boom. And yeah, that's what I was saying, that if the society is sufficiently advanced that you're able to keep members that would die off otherwise alive until after they've bred, then those elements that would have died off with the host of those elements are able to continue on. It's the reason why allergies are on the rise. It used to be that if you had a deadly allergy to peanuts, the first time that you had peanuts, that's it, you're out of the gene pool. Whereas now you have a deadly allergy to peanuts. Well, there's a lot of ways of treating that. We can treat your anaphylaxis. If you end up consuming peanuts, we can keep you alive. We can allow you to continue breeding. The one problem would be recessive traits are always a pain in the ass to breed on, and those tend to be the worst when it comes to inbreeding because it has a habit of concentrating those recessive traits over a sufficiently long period of time, which is what happens with the royal family. That's how the royal family became almost synonymous with porphyria, if I remember correctly. Unga Bunga cave people would not be able to keep those elements alive, though, so those elements would die off.
So there we
were. And again, just to stress this, I am not saying that that is the most common route by any stretch of the imagination. Just that it has happened before, cheetahs being the best example. So it is possible.
All right, so Terry, what you were explaining your board game that you were talking about before? Before we started the stream.
I actually got two. So one is I keep getting the name of it, Nightmare Horror Adventures, which is one that surprised me because I thought it was going to be like solving the murder mystery, finding out who the killer is. But it turns out one of the players is the killer, and it just says right on their player card, you are the killer. So it's going to be interesting playing that solo, given that I already know who did it. But I think it should still be interesting to, walk through the story and, explore, see what clues there were, see if I can say that I would have solved it if I hadn't been given the answer. See how obvious they make it, kind of thing. So that'll be interesting. And that's what I'll be doing after the stream. The other one is Detective City of Angels, which is more of a just solve the crime kind of thing. The multiplayer in that is the one that sounds the most interesting. I don't have anyone to play against, so I'll be doing the solo. But it's interesting in that there is a player who's like the equivalent of the DM. He like controls all the NPCs, and like he is actively trying to stop the detective solving the case, so they can when someone interrogates a suspect, for instance, the chisel, which is the name of the antagonist DM, can have a selection of what answer he wants to give them. So you can do like A, B, or C. There's always one answer that is the most helpful, but there's like misleading statements that he can give to kind of throw him off the track. But if the players think that the chisel is being misleading, they can challenge him. And then if they challenge incorrectly, the chisel gains leverage over them and can like block their questions. But if they challenge correctly, they can get leverage over the chisel and then can force him to answer questions honestly. So that sounds like it'd be really cool, but obviously doesn't work as a single player.
Mm-hmm.
No, I like solving crimes in fictional settings. I would not like to try my hand at it in real life. But story crimes are always fun to solve.
You're not one of those people who watches an episode of CSI and is like, I could do that.
Oh, I could absolutely not do that in real life. I would have no interest in spoiling all the detectives' cases by my inadequate detective work. And
plus, do you know how expensive it would be to modify his entire home into a state-of-the-art crime lab?
No, I'm just thinking that they would be trying to solve a crime, and then, right in the middle of everything, Terry would make a pun, and everyone would just yell at him. We're trying to solve a murder, goddammit!
But I was under the impression that if you make a pun at the crime scene, then it's just, you have to put on your sunglasses, and someone goes, yeah!
And then there's an explosion, and you walk away. That's how it works.
The thing is, if I made a pun and people yelled at me, I'd be like, why did you hire me? You know who I am.
Also, can I just say that was a brilliant impression of Baba O'Reilly by the Who, Sanguine. It sounded nothing like it.
I know. It's just part of the point of it. I'm not going to actually try to do it good. I'm just going to try to do a scream that sounds fucking weird.
Yeah. But it's like you were saying a while ago, Gunsky. It's like you think of me the same way that the Seinfeld scene is like, do you have to be so jokey all the time? I'm a comedian.
I'm a comedian.
It's like someone says, "Do you have to be so jokey all the time?" It's like, yeah, I'm Terry. What did you expect?
You know who you hired, asshole.
Yeah.
You heard the funny accent. You know I'm from Australia, you fuck.
But I actually think that did get me in trouble in my last job because they never like said anything, but I could tell that the boss's wife, who also worked there, absolutely hated me. And
it was
implied.
implied.
I think she heard one of my jokes to one of the other co-workers, and she took offense because every time she had to check my work, she found like 15 mistakes that I'd made. And then when anybody else checked my work, it's like, oh, you forgot, one thing over here, but otherwise it's fine. So like clearly she was manufacturing errors to make me look incompetent. And so my best guess is that she heard one of my comments to probably Tony. He's the one that I was best friends with. My best friend at the job of the people there. And I said something to him. She's heard it and he's like, oh, well, you can't be saying that. And she had it in for me ever since.
Mm.
So I'm glad I don't work there anymore.
What'd you do? Stick her up with finger guns?
No, but like it's the boss's wife, so she's not going to get fired or leave. So I'm glad I'm gone. I'm glad I'm out of there.
You don't know. They might get divorced.
Unlikely.
It's about
I
time,
think
Tony.
I think the boss and his wife were unhappy. From what I can tell of them, they'd be the type to just cheat on each other but stay married rather than actually get divorced.
See, that's when you need to double check that by putting some lipstick on his shirt every so often and
It's
just leaving condoms in her purse.
No, I'm glad that I got hired to that job because it came at a time when I needed money. But having gotten that money, I'm glad that I no longer have to be there.
Well, we are getting close to the 2-hour mark, so we're going to go with parting thoughts. Terry?
My parting thought is everyone give Jack a hard time because he deserves it.
Thanks, Terry.
You're welcome.
Hey, Jack?
Well, since we talked so much about incest today, I'm going to give everyone in the audience the advice, don't fuck your sister.
I was really expecting you to say that you were going to give the advice of incest is best, so put your sister to the test.
No.
You should make that your final thoughts.
I already have a
hashtag cancel Sanguine.
Hashtag I want photos of Sanguine's sister first before I pass judgment.
You devour it, don't let it devour you.
That goes doubly for your sister.
Well, if you're devouring your sister, you've already put her to the test. And I'm now questioning your family tree.
So as my reward was being Jack Gunsky for a week, I have a feeling that you weren't composing your thesis. You were writing in your red book.
Huh? What's a red book?
You don't know about the red book?
No.
Okay. Was it Freud that had the Red Book? Sanguine?
I think so, yes.
Red Book was essentially Freud's like darkest thoughts that he had, and he composed them all into a Red Book, and someone published them.
Oh,
I don't know if it was
that
him,
sounds.
but yeah, I guess it's like a lot of his like darkest thoughts, and yeah, someone sent them to the world.
Great. That's embarrassing.
And it's thoughts, not thoughts, for anyone who may have misheard. It wasn't just a bunch of black chicks in his book.
Yeah, it wasn't a bunch of scantily clad women selling farts in a jar and their diarrhea in a cup or whatever the hell.
Oh, it was
Well,
Young.
they're
It was Carl Jung.
Oh, Young.
I had to
That's
double
right.
check. I
So
remember it
was
was
it-
someone around that time, but I couldn't remember which one.
It was Young. It was not Freud.
No, it wasn't Freud. It was Young. I remember now. But yeah, it was.
Freud was just up front with it. He wanted to fuck his mother, and he hated his father.
He is very Oedipal.
And he insisted everyone else wanted to do the same.
Yeah, I'm
In
pretty
the
sure
grand-
that Freud just made that up because he was tired of getting bullied for being gay.
No, like I said,
Yeah. Oh, you're gay. How will you want to fuck your mom?
No, I don't.
Only a true motherfucker would would deny their incestuous ways.
And
I think it was part of the grand tradition of, I'm not weird. Everyone wants to do the weird thing I want to do.
Yeah. But you are alone in that, Jack. Only you like the bran muffins that way.
We'll call the poll. Looks like 66% of you are viewers.
Nice.
While the other 33% are total liars.
I think
The other
we
1%
should run.
doesn't exist.
I think we should run another test. Ask if the viewers are fucking their mom.
maybe next week. I think we have to wrap up.
But yeah. And on that note, the zoo is closed. Thank you, everyone, and good night.
Bye, guys.
What?